Hello, welcome to Scented Pages. I'm here this morning with my water and I've got my coffee. I wanted to talk about the books that I got from the library last week when me and the kids went to the Central Library downtown. I had never been before. That was my first time ever going and it was really fun and I got quite a few books. One I've already finished reading, so I can also give a little update on that because the story, well, I didn't read the whole book. It's actually a novella that I read inside of the book. And I'll explain it when I get to it because I was going to do a separate video for it, but I probably won't. I'll probably just throw in the summary and my thoughts and stuff about it in this video while I'm going over the books and stuff. So let us get started, darling. It's going to be fun. Got nice, look at my cup. Isn't that cute? Easily distracted by books. Right up my alley. It's so pretty. I love it. It's just full of nice ice water. It was a pretty enough day, finally, that it wasn't super hot outside. Now I could get out and do a video outside. It's been exchanging between hot and rain. Rain at night and blazing saddles hot seem like all summer. And it's been making the day so humid. Like humidity, is that a word? Is humidity a word? I feel like humidity isn't a word. But humid. Just regular humid. By it raining so hard at night and then just being so hot during the day, it's been making the environment feel, like I said before, like a membrane. It almost feels physical. So yes, let me get into these books. I got a couple of them. Okay, I had to stop for a second because of a little distraction. But anyway, I'm back. So that gave me the opportunity, however, to divide the books up that I have into easier to get through little piles. Got about 4 piles here. So first, I've got this book called The Wives by Tarryn Fisher. The inside flap says, "You've never met the other wives. None of you know each other. And because of this unconventional arrangement, you can see your husband only one day a week. But you love him so much you don't care. Or at least that's what you've told yourself. But one day while you're doing laundry, you find a scrap of paper in his pocket, an appointment reminder for a woman named Hannah, and you just know it's another of the wives. You thought you were fine with your arrangement, but you can't help yourself. You track her down, and under false pretenses, you strike up a friendship. Hannah has no idea who you really are. Then Hannah starts showing up to your coffee dates with telltale bruises, and you realize that she's being abused by her husband, who of course is also your husband. Foolishness. But you've never known him to be violent, not ever. Who exactly is your husband, and how far would you be willing to go to find out? And who is this mysterious third wife?" The wives. We'll see. I'm not knowing how much, what was it about this that grabbed my attention? The fact that she was fine with the other woman, but not a third woman. That's her gripe. And I want to know what the hit for. I want to know what's going on. So there's that. The Wives by Tarryn Fisher. Then, and now I have another Shari LaPena book. I'm loving her. I got a couple of her books. I'll get to the other book of her when I show you guys the books that I'm going to be reading next week. But I got a Shari LaPena book, and it's called The End of Her. As a matter of fact, No, I didn't start Sherry LaPena today. Today I started another Liv Constantine book called The Wife Stalker or something. But I think next week, because I'm supposed to go on a trip next week, I'm going to Georgia, and on my, it's going to be a 10-hour drive down there. I'm so excited. So I think the book that I'm going to listen to, the audiobook that I'm going to listen to, is a Sherry LaPena book called The Couple Next Door. I'm looking so forward to that. But so yeah, I'm going to finish up The Wife Stalker between tonight and tomorrow. Between tonight, tomorrow, maybe I might give it till Tuesday. That way I can start, that way come Thursday when it's time for me to leave, I'll be able to start a fresh book. I'll start the fresh Sherry LaPena book, The Couple Next Door. I'm looking so forward to that. So anyway, at any rate, this Sherry LaPena book is the end of her. Honey, not the end of her. Stephanie and Patrick are adjusting to life with their colicky twin girls. The babies are a handful, but even as Stephanie struggles with the disorientation of sleep deprivation, there's one thing she's sure of. She has all she's ever wanted. Then Erica, a woman from Patrick's past, appears and makes a disturbing accusation. Patrick had always said his first wife's death was an accident, but now Erica claims it was murder. Patrick insists he's innocent, that this is nothing but a blackmail attempt. Still, Erica knows things about Patrick, things that make Stephanie begin to question her husband. Stephanie isn't sure what or who to believe. As Stephanie's trust in her husband begins to falter, Patrick stands to lose everything. Is Patrick telling the truth? Is Erica the persuasive liar Patrick says she is? Or has Stephanie made a terrible mistake? I like domestic foolishness. I like domestic thrillers, domestic horror, stuff going on around the house. I like stuff like that, stuff between family members that's supposed to love each other and whatnot. And then when they don't, I find stuff like that so interesting because it happens. You know, there are people who just have horrendous dynamics between family members, and it's interesting. Not interesting in like a fun kind of way, but I always find it interesting that you could just naturally not love somebody that you could just naturally not love somebody that you gave birth to, or that's a family member or whatever, that you're like quote unquote supposed to love. IPGC. Then I have The Chain. Now this one seemed really good and interesting. So this one, I don't even have to read the blurb for this, because baby, I was hooked. This is about a lady, a couple whose kid gets stolen, and in order to get their kid back, they have to kidnap somebody else's kid. Honey, let me read you. It says, the morning starts like any other. Rachel Klein drops her daughter Kylie at the bus stop and heads into her day. But then a cell phone call from an unknown number changes everything. On the line is a woman informing Rachel that she has Kylie, bound and gagged in her back seat, and the only way Rachel will ever see her again is if she pays a ransom and kidnaps another child. The caller is a mother herself, whose son has been abducted, and if Rachel doesn't do exactly as she's told, the boy will die, and so will Kylie. Rachel is now part of The Chain, a terrifying scheme that turns parents from victims into criminals and is making someone else very rich in the process. Rachel is an ordinary woman, but over the coming days, she will be pushed beyond ordinary limits. Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting concept. When I get done reading this, I'm going to say I had something else to say. It says, The Chain is ruthless, terrifying, and completely anonymous. The rules are simple. Find the money, find your victim, and then commit a horrible act you'd have taught yourself incapable. You'd have thought yourself and capable of just 24 hours ago. What the masterminds behind the chain know is that parents will do anything for their children. But what they don't know is that they may have finally met their match, baby. I love it. Rachel is smart, determined, and a survivor. Can she be the one who can she be the one to finally break the chain? It was interesting. What I wanted to say was this is good. This is gonna be good. I might take this with me next week. But what I was gonna say is I was watching a video, I think it was maybe last night or something, maybe earlier this week, but it was talking about I was kind of doing a little bit of research for this book, and I have a kind of a bit of a morbid curiosity, or morbid interest, I should say, in like evil and the nature behind evil and what makes people evil. Is it something that happens over time? I know that there's a lot of that nature versus nurture thing, if a person is really born evil or whatever, or born to have a propensity towards doing evil things. What is it? I wonder a lot of times about people who think themselves a good person. Like me, I think myself a good person. Of course, everybody has made their mistakes. Nobody is completely 100% innocent. But overall, I would hope that I would catch myself before going down a slippery slope of evil. But at the same time, if you are put in, or if I myself, I'm using you in like a plural sense of everybody, if I myself were put in a situation where, let's just say, you have to fight for your life, or you have to fight for your child's life, or do an evil act to save your child, or something, could I do that? Because see, let me tell you, touching my babies is like touching my eyeball. I'd be ready to go off. And it's just, I find it interesting, what could maybe push the human mind and psyche, or the mind of a mother, mind of just a regular person, who thinks themselves a good person. What could push them over into evil, over into doing something reprehensible? That's interesting, because I was in this book. Okay, so no, I'm gonna save this for last. But in this book, the little guy that's in this book, his name is Todd Bowden, and the novella in this is called Apt Pupil. And what I thought interesting was that a lot of times people equate, he's an apt pupil, he's really intelligent, but I think he's an evil person. A lot of times people equate good grades with a person being a good person, and good grades go with good people, like that, and bad grades usually is a bad student and a bad person. Whereas this kid was bringing home phenomenal grades, but he was an evil person. I like to ponder and think about the nature of things sometimes, the nature of where does stuff like that come from, psychology behind evil and certain acts that people do. It's quite interesting to me. We'll get into this in a minute. But I thought that this is going to be really good. I can't wait to get into this. So, I also got The Women's War, which, as you can see, I started. I haven't gotten very far into it, but I'm liking it. It's like a fantasy. And usually, I don't do too much fantasy. I don't do a lot of fantasy, but this one is like an adult fantasy, and it's about women in this land where women are like really oppressed. Listen. It says, in a feminist fantasy epic, a revolutionary spell gives women the ability to control their own fertility, with consequences that rock their patriarchal society to its core. When a nobleman's first duty is to produce a male heir, women are treated like possessions and bargaining chips. But as the after effects of a world altering spell ripple out physical and culturally, wait, but as the after effects of a world altering spell ripple out physically and culturally, women at last have a bargaining chip of their own. And two women in particular find themselves at the liberating crossroads of change. Alice is the widowed mother of two adolescent children and the disinherited daughter of a king. Her existence has been carefully regulated, but now she discovers a fierce talent not only for politics but also for magic. Once deemed solely the domain of men. Oh, okay. The magic once deemed solely the domain of men. Meanwhile, in the neighboring kingdom, young Elin finds herself unexpectedly on the throne after the sudden death of her grandfather, the king, and everyone else who stood ahead of her in the line of succession. Everyone? How'd that happen? I'm wondering about that. Conventional wisdom holds that she will marry quickly, then quietly surrender the throne to her new husband. Only Elin has other ideas. She said, hand over what to who for why. I got this. The tensions building in the two kingdoms grow abruptly worse when a caravan of exiled women and their escort of disgraced soldiers stumble upon a new source of magic in what was once uninhabited desert. This new and revolutionary magic, which only women can wield, might well tear down what is left of the patriarchy. The men who currently hold power will do anything to retain it. But what force in the world can stand against the courage and resolution of generations of women who have tasted freedom for the first time? This seems like it's going to be good. And it's like a whole 3-book series. It's juicy so far, and I can't wait to get further into it. This is going to be good. Yes. Oh, The Woman's War by Jenna Glass. Then, okay. I got 2 nonfiction books. I'll save those for last. The 2 nonfiction books. I got a James Baldwin and another one. I'll get to it in a second. The next one that I got, this is going to be silly, but I wanted to give it a try, especially with the weather changing and fall coming up soon. But I found The Hobbit, and I just felt like this was just something that I wanted to read just to say that I've read it. It's something like it, just one of those books that if you really call yourself a reader, you have to say, okay, well, I have read The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I have read Game of Thrones. Certain people like that. Like I said, certain Stephen King books. So I grabbed this, and I kind of had just thumbed through it and went through it a little bit in the library. And it seemed like a book, a read that I could get through. So I'm going to try it. So we all know about The Hobbit, but it says J.R.R. Tolkien's own description for the original edition. If you care for journeys there and back, out of the comfortable Western world, over the edge of the wild and home again, and can take an interest in a humble hero, blessed with a little wisdom and a little courage, and considerable good luck, here's a record of such a journey and such a traveler. Oh, how cute and fun. The period is the ancient time between the age of fairy and the dominion of men, when the famous forest of Mirkwood was still standing and the mountains were full of danger. In following the path of this humble adventurer, you will learn by the way, as he did, if you do not already know all about these things, much about trolls and goblins, dwarves and elves, and get some glimpses into the history and politics of a neglected but important period. For Mr. Biblo Baggins visited various notable persons, conversed with the dragon Smog the Magnificent, and was present rather than unwilling at the Battle of the Five Armies. This is all the more remarkable since he was a hobbit. Hobbits have hitherto been passed over in history and legend, perhaps books because they, as a rule, preferred comfort to excitement. But this account, based on his personal memoirs of the one exciting year in the otherwise quiet life of Mr. Baggins, will give you a fair idea of the estimable people now, it is said, becoming rather rare. They do not like noise. J.R.R. Tolkien, The Hobbit by Mr. J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm interested in it because I'm willing to dive deeply into my fantasy girly era. I had given some fantasy books a try before. So as long as it's, because like I said, I like stuff like American Gods. I like stuff like the Game of Thrones. As long as it's not YA and fantasy, as long as it's some fantasy that I can kind of get behind, I think I'll be okay. We'll see how this one goes. Hopefully I won't want to DNF it, but we'll see. Okay. Got a couple more books here, and then I'm going to wrap this up. Okay, so, oh no. The next book that I'm going to talk about is this one, Dirty White Boys. The librarian the librarian suggested this one because I told her that I was kind of looking for something similar to S.A. Cosby's book, All the Sinners Bleed, and she said that this one could kind of put you in the mind of it. It's called Dirty White Boys. They weren't just born to kill, they were born to rock your world, honey. Well, I don't want my world rocked. I like my world still and stable, consistent. It says Dirty White Boys. Armed to the teeth, Lamar and his boys have cut a path of terror across the Southwest and pushed one good cop into a crisis of honor and conscience. Trooper Bud Pewty. I think that name is hilarious. Not Pewty. That's hilarious. Okay, let me stop. Trooper Bud Pewty should have died once at the hands of these ex-cons. Now they're about to meet again. And this time, only one of them will walk away. I hope it's Pewty. Cute. Can't wait to get into it. Now, for these next 3 books, these are my choices for, okay, next week I told you I'm going down south. So I wanted to do like a reading vlog and get through at least one of these books. These are Freda McFadden. They had all the good Freda McFadden books. These are Freda McFadden and another Shari LaPena. So I was going to take these 2. A Stranger in the House and Never Lie, and see how far I could get through these. I was wanting to be in my Blanche Devereaux, Southern Belle, Reading by the Pool era next weekend. I'm going to try to get as much footage as I can. I know I always said that I'm going to get footage, and I always get distracted, and I never end up recording. But this time, I'm going to try to record. Speaking of recording, I'm going to insert a little footage in here of last week when we went to the library, so you can see how big and beautiful that Central Library is. I had no idea. I had missed out all this time on such a big, fun library. And then we went and we spent like over an hour there. That hour and a half or so went by so fast, so I really wasn't able to get into all the sections that I wanted to. So I can't wait to go back. But anyway, A Stranger in the House by Shari LaPena. Oh, okay. It says, Karen Krupp was home making dinner for her husband. She was expecting him any second. The phone rang. It was a call she'd hoped she'd never get. She jumped in her car and raced to a neighborhood she thought she'd never visit. She peered into the dark, deserted building and braced herself for the worst. After that, she remembered nothing. They told her husband, Tom, she'd been in an accident. She must have lost control of her car as she sped through the roughest part of town. The police suspect that Karen was up to no good, but her husband refuses to believe it. Her best friend is not sure, and even Karen herself doesn't know what to believe. Then she realizes something in her house has been moved. Someone's been there, and now everyone is a stranger. Everyone has a secret, one they might even kill for. That sounds like it's going to be good. Never Lie by Frida McFadden. It says newlyweds Trisha and Ethan are searching for the house of their dreams. They think they found it when they visit the remote manor that once belonged to Dr. Adrian Howe, a renowned psychiatrist who vanished without a trace years ago. But when a violent winter storm traps them at the estate, the house begins to lose its appeal. Stuck inside and growing restless, Trisha stumbles on a collection of audio transcripts from Dr. Howe's sessions with patients. As Trisha listens to the cassette tapes, she learns about the terrifying chain of events leading up to the doctor's mysterious disappearance. With each tape, another shocking piece of the puzzle falls into place, and a web of lies slowly unravels. But by the time Trisha reaches the final cassette, the one that reveals the entire horrifying story, it will be too late. From New York Times bestselling author Frida McFadden comes an addictive, unpredictable thriller that will keep you asking the question, what is the truth? Juicy. Taking this book next weekend. It's going to be such a vibe. Then, The Inmate by Frida McFadden. I keep hearing rave reviews about both books, the Never Lie and this one, The Inmate. So it says, as a new nurse practitioner at a maximum security prison, Brooke Sullivan is taught 3 crucial rules. Ew, why'd I say it like that? She's taught 3 crucial rules. 1. Treat all prisoners with respect. 2. Never reveal any personal information. 3. Never, ever become too friendly with the inmates. But nobody knows that Brooke has already broken the rules. Nobody knows about her inmate connection to Shane Nelson, one of the penitentiary's most notorious and dangerous inmates. They certainly don't know that Shane was Brooke's high school sweetheart, the star quarterback, the golden boy who's serving a life sentence for a series of grisly murders. Or that Brooke's testimony was what put him there. But Shane knows. He knows more than anyone, and he will never forget. The Inmate is a propulsive, mind-bending thriller about how we define guilt and who has to pay for it. The New York Times bestselling author, from New York Times bestselling author Frida McFadden. Can't wait. I cannot wait. So I think I'm going to take, no, I don't think I'm going to take all 3 of these books. I think I'm just going to take these 2 for next weekend and, mood read between these 2. And I should be fine, honey. I am looking so forward to it. So now we're in for the last 3. And I'm going to do my 2 nonfiction books. And then the last one that I'm going to do, how much time have I been talking for? 26 minutes. Okay, because I should be able to talk a little bit about this one before the end of the video. Because I don't think I want to make a separate video for this, for the story in the book that I read. Okay, so we have I Am Not Your Negro by James Baldwin. I've never read a James Baldwin book, and this is pretty thin, and when I saw it, I grabbed it. I said, he's another author, one of those authors that you just, if you call yourself a reader, you can't say that you haven't read a James Baldwin book, or like a Toni Morrison book, Maya Angelou. Those are just, Stephen King. Those are staple authors that should be talked about and read and consumed. I Am Not Your Negro. I saw this documentary not too long ago, like maybe a month or so ago. Oh my goodness. And it was really good. I loved it. I watched that pretty close to the other documentary that I watched about Jesse Owens running in the 1936 Olympics that was held in Nazi Germany. Baby, that was a good documentary. Both of them were good documentaries. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, I'm going to grab this up and read it. It says, to compose his stunning documentary film, I Am Not Your Negro, acclaimed filmmaker Raoul Peck mines James Baldwin's published and unpublished oeuvre, selecting passages from his books, essays, letters, notes, and interviews that are every bit as incisive and pertinent now as they have ever been. Weaving these texts together, Peck brilliantly imagines the book that Baldwin never wrote. In his final years, Baldwin had envisioned a book about his 3 assassinated friends, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Jr. His deeply personal notes for the project have never been published before. Peck's film uses them to jump through time, juxtaposing Baldwin's private words with his public statements in a blazing examination of the tragic history of race in America. Beautiful. I Am Not Your Negro by James Baldwin. Can't wait to get into it. And then this book, I was kind of disappointed that I wasn't able to have a deeper look into the psychology section. I had spent so much time in the other sections that when I finally did find the psychology section, it was almost time to go. Annoying. But I did grab one book about our quirks, which I thought was cute. It's called Quirkology. Quirkology is how we discover the big truths in small things. It says, for over 20 years, psychologist Richard Wiseman has examined the old ways in which the human mind really works. In Quirkology, he navigates the backwaters of our behavior, discovering a wide range of fascinating insights, including the telltale signs that gave away a liar, the secret science behind speed dating and personal ads, and what people's sense of humor reveals about the innermost workings of their mind. Wiseman's research has involved secretly observing people as they go about their daily business, conducting unusual experiments at art exhibitions and music concerts, and even staging fake seances in allegedly haunted buildings. With thousands of research subjects from all over the world, including enamored couples, unwitting pedestrians, and guileless dinner guests, Wiseman presents an enlightening and entertaining picture of the human mind. Whether running a worldwide online laugh lab in search of the world's funniest jokes, conducting clandestine experiments in more than 30 countries, or dressing up in a giant chicken suit, there is nothing that Wiseman won't do to show what small things can reveal about the big picture. Quirkology chronicles his own adventures and experiments into the quirky science of everyday life, while paying tribute to others who have carried out similarly weird and wonderful work. Presenting a fresh look at the fascinating phenomena that is your life, Wiseman gives us the definitive guide to the curious science of quirkology. Quirkology by Dr. Richard Wiseman. I thought this would be cute. I can't wait to get into it. I like, like I said, learning about human behavior, psychology, the mind, what makes people tick, what makes people do stuff, not just evil things, but just stuff. I find it fascinating. Then last, finally, but maybe not least, because it was the juiciest book that I have read in a long time. Now, I call myself being hard on Mr. King, Mr. Stephen King. I said I'm only reading his books to see what all the hubbubaloo, all the hubbubaloo was about. And baby, I kind of get it a little bit. This book convinced me that, okay, maybe people have a reason to be on his dick the way that they be. They just be riding that man like there is no other writer on the planet other than this just better than, or that's anything other than Stephen King. Oh my God, I'm messing. but I kind of see it now. This book was excellent. So this is a compilation book of 4 novellas. And a novella is a book that is shorter than a novel, but longer than a short story. So this book has like 4 little novellas in it. But I was interested mainly in the second one, Apt Pupil. Now, I have seen the movie years ago. But the movie does not hold a candle to this book. I gotta give it to Stephen King. I gotta take my hats off to him. He wrote his ass off in this story. I get it. I like the way that Stephen writes psychosis. I like the way that he writes crazy people, which is something that I can get behind a little bit more than, let's just say, a demon clown or something, like, you don't need a whole bunch of, supernatural stuff and demon clowns and this, that, and the other when there are regular evil people that do evil things to one another. That enough is all you need to write about for it to be terrifying. Who cares about a damn clown? We got Todd Bowden. He was the worst kid that I have ever in my life read. Look how beautiful this library is. Oh my God. It's so big and beautiful. Like, look at that. Oh my God. I've never been here before. I'm so excited. I gotta try to find all my sections now, especially the thrillers. It's so big. This is just the mangas. Kids like the manga, like comic book section. I was gonna finish talking about the Apt Pupil book, but I think I'm just gonna wrap this up and make a second video for that one because it's a lot to talk about and I have a lot of thoughts on it, so I don't want to make this video too long. So later on, in like a couple days, maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, I'll finish talking about Apt Pupil because it's definitely a book worthy of its own video. Let me see what else. I think that's pretty much it. I'm done. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say. I don't think so. All right. Well, that's it. See y'all. See you next time.